The house at the end of the village. In a village far from the bustle of the city, there stood an old house known as the Black House. This house had been abandoned for years, inhabited only by dark memories and eerie rumors whispered among the locals. It was said that anyone who ever lived there ended up tragically, either disappearing without a trace or being found lifeless. One gloomy afternoon, Sinta, a young girl who had recently moved to the village, overheard stories about the house from her neighbors. They warned her to stay away, but her curiosity outweighed her fear. She decided to visit the house herself, just to prove that the tales were nothing but nonsense. Armed with only a flashlight and her courage, Sinta walked down the overgrown path toward the dark house. Each step she took felt heavy, filled with an unexplainable sense of unease. As she reached the door, the air around the house grew colder, and an unsettling chill crept into her bones. The door, old and worn, creaked open easily when she pushed it. A musty, damp odor immediately filled the air. Inside, everything was dusty and decaying. The wooden floorboards creaked beneath her every step, amplifying the already tense atmosphere. The beam of her flashlight only illuminated small patches of the room, leaving the rest of the space shrouded in mystery. Sinta moved slowly through the large living room, making her way down a dark corridor. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed through the house, like something heavy fallen. Startled, she felt a surge of fear but couldn't bring herself to leave. Instead, she continued toward the source of the noise. When she opened a door at the end of the hall, she found a large room, empty except for an old chair in the center. But in that chair sat an old man, his head bowed as if he were sleeping. Sinta felt a strange sense of confusion because she hadn't seen anyone enter the house. I need to leave," Sinta whispered to herself, but her feet felt rooted to the floor. The old man slowly lifted his head, and his empty eyes locked onto hers. You've finally come," his voice rasped, as if it came from the depths of the earth. Sinta stepped back, wide-eyed. Who are you?" she asked, her voice trembling. The old man smiled, his grin twisted and unsettling, the wrinkles on his face deep and exaggerated. "I am the one who waits." "You are the one who is awaited," he replied, slowly rising from the chair. Panicking, Sinta bolted toward the door, only to find that it had slammed shut, trapping her inside. The atmosphere grew more oppressive. Every second felt like an eternity. From the dark hallway, the sound of footsteps approached, slow but deliberate. A woman appeared in the doorway, her face pale and her long hair hanging messily around her shoulders. Her face was disfigured, as if she had gone through something horrific. "He has been waiting for you. Everyone who comes here meets their end," the woman whispered in a breathless tone. Sinta's heart raced, and without thinking, she ran toward the window. She grabbed a chair and smashed the glass, then jumped out. But as soon as her feet hit the ground, an odd sensation took over her. It wasn't the hard ground she expected. It was soft, almost like sand. She turned around, expecting to see the house burning, but what she saw instead shocked her. She was back, in the same living room. Everything was exactly the same. The sound of laughter echoed eerily from all around her. She turned, and there stood the old man again, now standing right in front of her with a wide smile. "Welcome to your home, Sinta," the old man said, grinning with triumph. "You cannot leave here. You are one of us now." Sinta froze, realizing what was happening. Everything, from the moment she first entered the house, had been a trap. This was no haunted house. It was a prison, trapping those who dared to uncover its secrets. Sinta understood now, and just as she opened her mouth to scream, her voice was sealed, her mouth shut. But then the old man's face began to change. Not just his face, his entire body. Sinta's eyes widened as she realized that the man was no longer the old man. His face, his features, they were hers. The faces around her, all of them twisted and contorted in horror, were reflections of herself. She was surrounded by versions of herself, all trapped in that same house, all victims of their own obsession with the unknown. "This is your fate. No one escapes this house," whispered the voice that echoed from every corner of the room, the voice of Sinta herself. And then everything went black.